It was challenging, and you give me a lot of credit because I definitely was not on the let's make this work boat in the beginning. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. My whole world had imploded, and and I didn't know if I wanted to stay or if I wanted to leave. I One day I was in this, I would say, loveless marriage, but I knew what to expect, right? We were roommates. We didn't really spend much time together. And if we did, it was all surface level stuff. But I knew what to expect day to day. But then this affair was discovered and I wasn't expecting that. I had thought that maybe that was something that was going on, but until you confirm it, you can just deny it, right? Say, oh no, that's not, there's no reason for me to even be thinking that. And you can plausible deniability. But when it's in your face and you can no longer deny it and you have to deal with it, then it's shoot, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Immediately, we did decide to go to therapy. So I think it was maybe 2 days after the discovery of the affair that we were in therapy. And
Wow.
yeah, so our therapist said a couple of things to us. Number one was, let's take 6 months and see how this goes. And then we can decide after 6 months if you want to stay or you want to go. Because I was just topsy-turvy, back and forth. I'm staying, I'm leaving, I'm staying, I'm leaving. And every single thing that he would do was either a tick for me to leave or, okay, fine. So you pulled the wool over my eyes today. So it was there. I wasn't believing anything, which rightfully, I don't think that very many people, when you're going through the aftermath of that and trying to rebuild trust, that you should just no one's borrow BS, I trust you all over again. That's not the way it works. But because I was so topsy turvy, our therapist was like, let's wait 6 months and see if this is worth saving. And she, in one session, had asked me a question because I was, again, all over the place. She asked me, have you ever healed a relationship before? And I had to think about it because with the affair, it triggered a lot of childhood wounds that I think
Yeah.
you talked about in the intro. And I thought that I had worked through all of those wounds and that here I am, just all the only thing I need to heal from now is this affair. And she asked me, have you ever healed a relationship before? And I thought about it. I said, no, I had none. I have never healed a relationship. And she said, you have an amazing opportunity right in front of you to do that work to try to heal this one. And why not give it a try? Do you want to know what it feels like to heal a relationship and to be in a safe, secure, loving relationship? And I said, damn it. Yes, I do. I really do. It wasn't me. I did the work for sure. But she definitely, that question was the catalyst that was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to buckle up and I'm going to do what I need to do to get what I can out of this. I'm still actually doing that. So I have a day job and then my therapy is because in still graduate school. And so I'm working my clinical hours, but before therapy, I've been in the payroll world for 20 years. And so numbers and that kind of stuff, super, I can nerd out talking about it. Most people are like, that's boring. Yeah, I get it. But I've been in the payroll world for about 20 years. About, I'd say 10 years ago, I shifted a little bit into the training role for my company. And I teach new hires how to do their jobs. I build training curriculum and lead, not really, I wouldn't say focus groups, training groups to help them better understand tools that they have, what they need to do with them, getting feedback about how those tools are helpful or how they work. And so that sort of thing. So I've been working with people and for the better half of my career. So there's this idea, and I think it spans outside of therapy. It's in every relationship or every interaction that we have. There's what we say, And then there's what we mean that's underneath what we say. And so sometimes those things are in sync and sometimes they're totally not. And so I had to learn how to pay attention to that. So you're telling me that you understand, but you're on your phone and you haven't been paying attention to me for the last 20 minutes and you messed up the last three things in a row that we were talking about. So are you sure you understand? Just paying attention to those types of things and really helping the individual where meeting them where they are. So where are you right now with what you need to get done? Like full disclosure, like there's no judgment here, and just be real with me. And being able to do that in the workspace where I think a lot of times people feel like if they don't know how to do their jobs, that they're going to be reprimanded, or if they're not good enough at their jobs, they're going to lose their jobs, or there's going to be something that's going to be bad that happens. So I think it just is natural sometimes for people to hide how much they don't know. And so when I come in and want to teach them how to do their jobs and give them the tools that they need, I need to know what they don't know so that I can help them learn what they need to know. And I think helping them understand that just takes a big pressure off, that I'm here to help you be the best that you can be at what you're doing. And that helps alleviate some pressure. And I've definitely used that. I've been able to use those skills moving into this field, mapped also with my own experience, which has been monumental for this. That's been the putting the glue back together and doing the work in therapy that was so much work and it was so difficult. As you can imagine, you're taking someone who already had so much childhood trauma. I think I told you that my ACE score is an 8. So it's like all the way up there, almost all the things that you can experience that you shouldn't as a child. I did. It triggered a lot, I guess I could say, when I found out about his affair. And so when we went into therapy initially, I was very intellectual. This is what we need to work on. My husband needs this kind of therapy. I need this kind of therapy. He needs to work through this and that because he struggles with blah, 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 blah. And once I see that he is doing the work, then I will start doing. It's basically what I had mapped out in my head, right? And my therapist called BS real quick and was like, no, that's not the way this works. Like, you need to do your own work and he needs to do his. And when that happens, then you do both of yours together and you guys will start growing. And that scared the living daylights out of me. What do you mean? What kind of work I have to do? Get vulnerable and start like sharing my feelings with this person that just pulled my heart out of my chest? Are you insane? There's no way I'm doing that. And that's what led to that question that I told you she asked earlier. Have you ever healed a relationship? And don't you want to know what that's like? And it took a lot of learning the tools to emotionally regulate because I did not know how to do that. I was very codependent. And so anytime he came in the door, he could say hi to me in a tone that seemed off. And automatically it meant that he was either just on the phone with some broad somewhere, or he just came home from where he shouldn't be. I had all of these reasons just because he said hi in the wrong tone. And so I had to unlearn how to be as I had to unlearn the hypervigilance that I had clung to for so long because it was my protection to keep myself from getting hurt. And unlearning that is really difficult work. So we had decided at the beginning that we were going to keep it between the two of us because we didn't want anyone else's input to influence what we decided to do, stay together or not stay together. And because I was so like anything that anybody had to say to me was my emotions would sway like the wind. So if somebody's, I can't believe you're staying, I'd be like, you're right. I can't believe I'm staying. Or if someone else was like, oh, this is so good. I'm so glad you're staying. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm glad too. It's so great. So I just decided, let me just keep my feelings to myself and let's try to work through this and then maybe start sharing information. But I think the first month and a half of therapy was really, I don't want to say volatile because I think that's a strong word, but to me, it felt that way. There was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of, I can't believe you did this to me. You like blew up our marriage. You ruined my life. You selfish, bleep, bleep, all of the things. I, therapy's not going to work. I had all of the things to say. And he didn't ever really say anything back to me. He's always been pretty good at not saying things that would be hurtful. And so when he would not join in my fight, it made me more angry, right? It made me more mad. So I'd get louder and louder. And then we would talk about it in therapy, and our therapist would have us rework the entire thing and how we both felt during the interaction and what my screaming did to him and what his silence did to me and how it all showed up in us, through us, and why we reacted to it the way we did. And once we started to understand what was underneath everything that was coming out, we were able to start really empathizing with one another. So I could then see his pain, and he could start sharing how he felt in our marriage before the affair happened. And I did not know that he felt so alone and isolated, and he felt like I didn't love him, and he felt like there wasn't enough room for his emotions in our marriage because I was so explosive with mine. And so every time I would get upset, if he also got upset, this is not about you. You don't have the right to get upset. This is about me and my feelings. You are supposed to help me with my feelings right now, is what he was experiencing and trying to explain to me. And I just, until we were in therapy and started to really talk about it with our therapist's help, I never understood that. I never understood it. But again, once we got to that point where we could really empathize with one another, then it was a lot easier to listen to each other and actually hear one another and listen with the intention to understand and listen with curiosity rather than listening with the intention of proving the other person wrong. What I like to do now is I like to find out, one, why are you here? What's bringing you here? So I have context to what has happened. I think that it's important to understand what each person has gone through and what their story is, because they want to tell their story. They want to tell, what the other person is wrong. That's typically why they come to therapy. I'm here because he did this. I'm here because she did that. And while that's not the real reason, I don't think, hardly ever, but I think the context is important because it gives me an understanding of where they are in their relationship with each other, and then also in their relationship with themselves, and where their emotions are, where their capacity to feel their emotions and accept their own emotions is. And so I'll go through their story and why they're here. And then almost immediately, I like to dive into rewriting how they communicate with one another and taking responsibility for their feelings. I think that people sometimes, I think number one, I think it's difficult to do that. People are not used to saying, when XYZ happens, I feel this way. And they're not really used to doing that. They're more used to complaining. You never do this, or you never do that, or you always fill in the blank. And that just creates the perfect ingredients for defensiveness. Yeah. And so teaching them to own their emotions, but also with the understanding that just because you own your emotions and they're yours doesn't mean that the behavior that your partner is engaging in is okay. I think that they sometimes don't want to own their emotions because it's not my fault. So they need to own it, not me. And so trying to realign that these are your feelings and they're yours and they belong to you, and separating that from the actual behavior and what needs to change. Once they have that understanding, I think it's easier for them to, most people that I've worked with, easier for them to feel what they're feeling and then being able to ask for what they need. And that's where I start. But then also diving deeper if they get stuck, diving deeper and finding out where in your body are you feeling this frustration or whatever the emotion is that's coming up right now. Where do you feel that? And where have you felt that before? Or what does that remind you of? And I think that linking that to other experiences helps them identify their own patterns of, at least their own patterns of emotion, of their emotions, and saying, oh my gosh, like I have felt this way in other areas of my life and I'm feeling this way right here too. Why is that? And then it invites them in to be curious about their own experience, which is exactly where I want them to be. I think that's also, that's so important to reiterate with them. Like, those two things can be true at the same time. You can love your partner so much and not be happy with their behavior. But just because you're not happy with their behavior doesn't mean that you've never loved them, right? Or that they don't, or that they've never loved you, or because they didn't take out the trash last night, that all of a sudden you're getting worse tomorrow. Which I know that's an extreme. Sometimes we have people that go there with those extremes. It is challenging. And it's that living in that space of protection, of not wanting to be vulnerable. Because when you open up and say, when you don't take out the trash, I feel like I'm doing this alone. And it just reminds me when I was growing up and my parents weren't around, and it really triggers that for me. And it is scary. And it sounds so weird to say that out loud, I think sometimes, because we're talking about taking out the trash and that's not a big deal, but it's attached to things that are a big deal. And when we can talk about those things in a way, this is really what happens inside my body. Very rarely is your partner going to respond with "that's so stupid," but they will respond with "that's so stupid" if you're just going to argue about the trash. Being able to get vulnerable, as scary and as difficult as it is, that's actually where the healing happens and where the connection begins. My husband, he was ready to dive in and do anything, all the work. And he wanted to have a connection. He wanted to show me every day that he was a good man, a good husband, and that he had made a really horrible decision, but that he was committed to me and wanted to be with me and wanted to do life with me forever, like never wanted to lose me. And I was so wrapped up in, yeah, but you did this thing and got, and like, of course, like this is a thing that tears marriages apart. It's not to take lightly by any means at all. And you did this horrible thing. And I can't, for the longest, couldn't see past it. Once, like I said before, once we got into how our marriage got to where it was for that affair to even become an option for him, I started to see how I had contributed to the demise of our marriage. Now, him deciding to go have an affair, that's all his. That's his stuff that he had to work through. Of course, I had to work through it too because it affected me, but that was all, yeah, his decision to make. But we are both responsible for for the health of our marriage and where it gets. The fact that our marriage was falling apart before he had an affair, that wasn't his doing. That was both of our doing. Yeah. So it's so important to look at that. It is so important because if we don't and we just end the relationship, which I think that there's a lot of reasons to end the relationship, and that's for each person to decide for themselves, right? So just because I decided to work out my marriage and stay married doesn't mean that's how everybody should do it. If they want to, then awesome, go for it, do it because it's amazing. But if you decide not to, that is also great. Whatever you have in the next season of life is will be whatever you want to make it. But I say that with a caveat that if we just leave our relationships because of something like that, like an affair, you don't get to leave yourself in that relationship. Like you take you with you and all of the things that happened in that relationship. So unless you do that deep work to heal before getting into another relationship, all of that's going to play out again. Might not be in the exact same way, but it's all going to show up all over again because you can't not take you with you wherever you go. And it makes sense that it's hard to hear because that hits right in the middle of the chest. Like that hurts to know
Yeah,
that you be contributing to your own suffering. That sucks to hear. And I think that's exactly what the affair was for me. So looking back at it, now this happened, I'm 5 years removed from it. We are. And so I look back at it now and I just see a monumental blessing. It's sometimes I thank my husband for having had an affair and he like rolls his eyes at me and he just I can't believe that you would even say that. And I'm like, but look at us. Look at us. We've done all of the super deep, difficult work. I tell him you are my absolute best friend. I can talk to him about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And I couldn't do that before. Neither of us could do that before. And I couldn't do that in any other relationship either. So feeling like I can just open up and talk to him about anything is so amazing. And knowing that he's not going to come back at me with a defensive tone or that's so lame. Like, why would you even think that? Or anything like that. And even if it's something that he did that bothers me, I can bring that up and talk to him and he just is there to listen. And that is, I don't think that people understand how much that really takes a load off to have a partner that just listens to understand. And that is, it's powerful. But beside that and how amazing we are together, it was a huge catalyst for all of the healing work I needed to do. I didn't know I needed to heal from all of that trauma. I thought I already did. And it became very apparent when we started therapy that I did not do a lick of work at all. And I was just finding other ways to hide it or keep myself from feeling it. And of course, it bubbles up in your most intimate relationships. And that's exactly what it did. I look back and I'm like, yes, if we had to do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same way. Something that was really difficult for me was going out and having a good time. So if we went out to dinner or it really didn't matter what we were doing, but we were having fun together. And I felt like I was letting my guard down and letting him in. The next 3 or 4 days would be what I called an emotional hangover of the turmoil of I let you in and now I'm terrified that I let you in because now I love you a little bit more and I want to be with you a little bit more. And yet I know that you hurt me and is all those protective parts just like trying to build that wall back up that I was trying to release a little bit. And so that to me in the moment told me that he was still cheating on me. That's what it told me in the moment. But through all of the therapy that I was doing, I had learned that that was me really getting triggered by parts of me getting triggered because of the love I was letting in. And because I was being vulnerable, those parts of me were just like, we don't know how to do this and we don't want to do this. And this is really scary, which is exactly where I needed to be because that was continuing that behavior and then paying attention to those feelings, listening to what they had to say to me and what they were afraid of and being able to sit with them. My therapist used to say, just sit with your feelings. I'm like, good God, why would anyone want to do that? Like, this sucks. And she's like, yes, but just get to know them and listen to what they have to say and just hang out with them with curiosity. And man, It sucked a whole lot to do that, but boy, was she right. And it's exactly what I get my clients to do now. It's just sit with them. And they're like, you're so crazy. And I'm like, I know. Just try. Just try to do it. I promise if you do it and if you put in the work to really meet yourself with curiosity, you will get to know your feelings. You will get to know what they're saying to you, and you will get to know where they're coming from. And you will also get to know that just because they feel that way doesn't mean that what they're saying is true. And you really get to learn that your foundation is not your emotions, because that's like trying to walk on water. Like that does not work. Your foundation is the ground, and your emotions are going to do this all the time, all the time. And just because they come through does not mean that what they're saying is true. And that can be difficult because sometimes the emotions get to be so big. They feel they're bigger than you are or bigger than I am. And so if they're that big, then how could they not be true? This is my intuition talking to me. And at least that's how I felt when I was feeling these big emotions. Was this is my intuition talking to me, telling me that everybody else around me is bad and they're out to hurt me and they're going to ruin my life, which is protective. And after doing the work and sitting with all of those feelings, realized that's not what people are doing. I'm putting myself in situations that feel that way, and then I push people away because I don't want that to be true. And then it feels like it's true because now they're distancing because I pushed them away, not because they wanted to be pushed away, but because I did that. But now they're ruining my life because I care for them and they're not coming to ask me if I'm okay or if I need something from them or if I, fill in the blank of what I feel like I need today. But they're at work. They're thinking everything's fine with me because I, again, didn't say anything. I don't talk about it. I just push them away. And then I create my own little prison bowl of my own emotions that just live all over the place. So part of what I'll do is I'll ask them, what other hard things have you gone through? And how have you gotten through those before? Kind of reiterating that they can do hard things, and that they've done hard things before. And so this is yet another hard thing, a different kind of hard thing, but you have the capacity to do this. I also tell them that, and I believe that this is true, that your body knows how to heal itself, that you just need to listen to it. I think that's exactly why we feel emotions and why we have so much somatic expression is because our feelings are telling us or our emotions are telling us what we need to do and we ignore them. I tell them if you listen to your body, it will know what to do and you are your body. So it's really just giving them their autonomy back. And I think that sometimes people need to hear that they can have autonomy, like it's a gift, because in their trauma, it's been taken from them. So they almost feel like they don't have it and that they need permission for it. So I'll remind them, like, this is your body and this is yours, and you have what it takes and what you need to get through this. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it sucks. But you are, however old you are now, you're a grown up. Look at all the things you have. You're in your house. Look at all the things that you built for yourself. Like, this is all stuff that you did. So just really reminding them that they are not stuck in that emotion, even though it feels so heavy. And that emotion is probably 7, 8 years old, most of the time, like super young, where it feels very like something really bad's going to happen to me. I'm going to be homeless or I'm going to be abandoned, which is like the same thing, but same type of situation. But just really bringing them back into the present. And while they're dealing with the emotion of the past, but sitting here and reminding them that they're safe, even though they feel that really strong, heavy, hard to feel stuff. I guess the only thing that I would say, just from someone who's gone through the ringer with rebuilding a marriage, which is difficult work, as you've heard, and then healing from childhood trauma, is to be patient with yourself and to give yourself grace, because years and years of abuse, you don't heal from that overnight, and you don't heal from that in one therapy session. I wouldn't even say that you heal from that after 6 months of therapy, unless you have the most amazing, I don't know. I don't think so. It took me 3 years to heal, and I'm still in therapy to work through just everyday stuff. So I would say be patient with yourself, be curious with yourself, try not to be judgmental of your emotions, because that's just going to create more of what you don't want, more of what you already have. And if anybody is going through the aftermath of an affair and wanting to rebuild their marriage, my cat, rebuild their marriage and don't really know where to start or what to, where to go, they can visit my website. It's messyhealing.com. And I have some resources there and a blog that I put together that really is like the hard truth about affair recovery. If you want to keep your marriage together, it's definitely not about breaking up, because that's not my story. Just what the hard, true, raw emotions are, but with practical steps. Yeah, I actually have a couple of them here. So I have one here that is called the Therapy Companion Journal for Anxiety. And I have another one that is the Therapy Companion Journal for Affair Recovery. And both of these journals are for really the anxiety one, could be for anybody, because I think that we all deal with anxiety at some level. And they provide space for individuals to write what's going on in therapy sessions. And there's pages also for documenting the things that happen in between therapy sessions. And then pages for them to document all the things that are happening during the week, but then putting it all into one page before they go into therapy the following week, so that they have like a summary of these are the things that happen next week. And this is what I want to talk about in therapy. And I put it together, actually, both of these journals based on my own work in my personal therapy. So that's what I was doing, because it was too much for me to keep track of what my therapist told me to do and the homework that she told me to focus on. And then to go into the week and try to like document like how I was feeling and what happened, and then go to therapy the next week and try to remember all that was like, I don't remember what I did 2 hours ago. What do you mean what happened on Monday? I don't know. And so putting this together where people can really write down the aha moments in therapy, what their therapist said that kind of struck a chord, or something that the therapist said that was like, I don't like the way that feels, because that's probably somewhere to dig deeper. And then writing down the things that happen in between, whether it's a fight, an argument, I felt this way, I said this, I said that, whatever, whatever that looks like. Now you have it all in one place, so that when you go to therapy, you could actually go through your book and say, oh yeah, this is what happened on Tuesday. And oh yeah, this is how I felt. And then it really tracks the work that you're doing in therapy with your therapist.